All right, tell the YouTube people whatever it is you got to say this time.
Hello, I'm Nate's grandma, and he and I went out shopping a while ago. We went to the Walmart up at Huntington, and he bought me this flower for Mother's Day, and I think it's real pretty. It's a tulip. I can plant it outside when it dies, and I'll still have it for next year. These are my two great-grandsons, Corbin and Eli.
Here, I'll zoom in on that. Hold it up. There we go.
And there are a couple of little characters, ornery as can be, but I love them. This is all three of my grandsons, Nathan, Ian, and Corey. And this is Corbin when he was a baby.
There, hold that up so they can see
And
it.
Corbin was crying.
Let me back up a little bit there. Here we go.
It was Ian's wedding day, and Ian got married in a kilt.
There, quit rocking so they can see it. There we go. All right.
So they took a picture of me and every one of my grandsons.
and the one above it is when Corbin was just a little guy.
Yeah, that was me holding Corbin.
Yep.
And that was before Eli was born. And Nathan and I stopped at Dairy Queen, and I got this big banana split, and he got chocolate shake. So I didn't need any dinner today. This is one of the warmest days we've had this summer yet. It's May the 8th, 2014, and it's 84 degrees out.
Yeah.
And I love this kind of weather. And I love spring. Springtime is my most favorite time of the year. I love the flowers and the trees and the showers too. We need showers. And what are some of the things that I like the best? I like my grandsons, my family, and I like going to church on Sundays. Everybody, this is advice from a grandma. Everybody should bring their children up in the church. It's hard enough to bring your children up if they're not connected with some churches. You might be sorry when they get older. So since I've been talking to you, nothing much has happened. Warmed up, we can sit out on the porch, and this is our thing to do in the summertime here in the apartments. In the winter we put puzzles together. In the summer we sit out on the porch or take a little walk around the parking lot or take a ride in the cars to see the beauty of nature. And I really like living here. I guess I did tell you I lived up at Newton Hamilton for 57 years before I moved here. And Linda and Joey were born in McVeigh, so now I'm living back in what was our old hometown. And then Gwen was born up at Newton Hamilton. So we bought this old house, Joe and I, in 1947, and it was built, did I tell you this before? It was built during the First World War, which would be around 1917, 1918. And we remodeled it inside and out. When we went there was no running water, there was no bathroom. You had to go outside to go to the toilet. And we never heard of a computer back in 1947. We didn't have television back in 1947. And I guess young people couldn't even imagine what it would be like to not have a television or a computer or things like we had. I didn't learn to drive a car till I was probably 26, something like that. My husband taught me to drive. And I'm ever glad I did, because now I wouldn't have somebody to drive me around. Nathan sometimes drives me. When we go out together, he always drives my car. And he always puts the gas in my car. And of course I pay for it. And some of the most important people in the world to me is my kids, my grandchildren, and my daughters. And Nathan used to practically live with me. Take him to Sunday school, and his mother and dad would pick him up after. And while I went to church, and as soon as I get home from church, he'd be calling me, "You gonna come and get me, Grandma?" Of course I did. So he lived with me more than he did with his parents. And he even went to school from my place because his mom was working. And see that big flower sitting there on that thing? Nathan bought me that for my birthday. A couple of years ago, he bought me that for my birthday. Sometimes he and I watch television together. There are some shows that he and I both like American Pickers. We like that. We like the pawn shops. The
Pawn Stars.
Pawn Sharks.
Stars.
Stars, and we kind of like that show. But there's an awful lot of stuff on television that we don't like. I don't even know who does like it. My favorite shows on television are Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. So if it wouldn't be for them, I wouldn't even watch television. Because a lot of it's just plain crap. Is crap a bad word?
You can say anything you want on YouTube.
Okay. Okay. I've made a lot
There's really no rules to this.
I've made a lot of friends since I live here in the apartments. And then I've lost a lot of friends because people move in here when they get older, and some of them die. Some of them move into nursing homes, and that's one of the worst parts about living here. If somebody dies, we all feel bad because we're sort of like a family. And we have people that come in and bring us things from the store that's been outdated. I guess they think we're not eating what we should, or they think we're poor or something. I guess most of us are poor because this is government housing. You pay your rent according to how much your income is. And there's a guy comes in and brings us cakes and bread and things like that at the Giant store. It's outdated as far as they're concerned, so they can't sell it and they give it away. When I was a kid, maybe I told you this, my dad built us a playground. Now, it wasn't made out of plastics and stuff like that. It was made out of wood and rope. There was 2 swings on a big scaffold-like thing made with rope, and the seats were boards. He made a merry-go-round, and he took an old wagon wheel and put it on top of a post and then put some boards out from it, and that's what we sat on. Of course, you had to push it, and a seesaw. and the neighbor kids would come around to our place to play with our little play, and they would play in our little playground. And a lot of the things that we did as kids, games that we made up, we didn't have a lot of fancy toys. We played hide and go seek. We played tag. We played ball, softball. And sometimes we didn't even have a real ball or a real bat. Our ball was a bunch of rags that my mother rolled up into a ball and sewed them together. And then our bat was a board that somebody whittled down and made a handle on it. But we improvised a lot of our toys. Then one time we decided we wanted a bicycle. So we said, well, we're going to start putting our money, all our money that we get in a can, and we're going to save up for a bicycle. Well, that would have taken forever because we never got much money. We didn't get money just handed to us. So my dad started putting money into it too. So finally we had one bicycle for all of us. And that now are my older brother and my older sister, and we're probably gone from the house by that time. But it was Foot and me and Bob and Kate and Sam. We bought this bicycle. I only had her own bicycle because when I got old enough that I could work, I bought her a bicycle. I used to buy her a lot of things because I knew she'd never, we didn't have the money, my mother didn't have the money to buy her a lot of things. So I bought her a doll, I bought her a bicycle, I bought her a sled, and I bought her some nice clothing. I was working at Middletown at the air depot during the war, and she was maybe 10 years old. And she always told people that I was more like a mother to her than a sister. I was 10 years older than she was. I used to babysit for my sisters that were grown up and married. And when it came time for me to get married and have babies, I knew how to take care of them already because I used to help take care of them. And we didn't have throwaway diapers. You had to wash them. But in those days, women took pride in hanging out a real nice whitewash, and they had to be ordered. Everything you hung on the clothesline was orderly. There was no shirt there, diaper there, something else there. They were all in order. And we took pride in hanging out a nice whitewash. And the people that have babies now that can't even imagine what it'd be like to have to wash their own diapers and hang them out on a clothesline and that sort of thing. And toys, there weren't a lot of toys in our house. Not like my grandson or my great-grandsons. You were just thrilled to death if somebody bought you a little toy for a birthday present or a Christmas gift or something. And the same with Easter. We made our own Easter baskets. We used crepe paper and covered these boxes and put a little handle on it. And we were thrilled to get Easter eggs and some candy and jelly beans. It didn't take much to make us happy because we didn't have much. We had a lot of apple trees at home, and right in our backyard, right out from the back porches, this apple tree, we called it a pound apple tree. And they were the best apples. They got really big. Best eating apples. They weren't for cooking though. And we had some other apple trees. Mom used to make dried apples. And then in wintertime, you could make apple pies with these dried apples. The Amish people make half moon pies with apple schnitz. And they were really good. My grandparents lived on a farm. And my grandma used to make the best homemade bread. It smelled so good when you walked in her kitchen. I used to love to go up there just for the things they cooked. They really knew. My aunt Esther really cooked good things, and they made really good homemade pies, homemade bread. Once a year they'd have a butchering. They'd kill a couple of big fat hogs, and some of their friends and neighbors would come and help them, and they'd shoot these hogs, and I usually hated that. They'd squeal. And they hung them up on big, what is those things that you hang your meat on? Anyhow, it was like a tent thing. And clean them, and they would make pawn hoss and bacon and home-cured hams, put them out in the smokehouse, and they were salty. I don't know exactly how they made those hams, but they were really good. And they smoked them with hickory smoke. And then there was thrashing day. Thrashing day, when they thrashed their wheat, and there was only a couple farmers in the area that had a thresher. Now they have what they call a combine that does it all right out in the field when they cut it. But that was a big thing on the farm too, because this guy came with, what was his name? H. Grassmeyer came with his big threshing machine, and they would thresh the wheat. That means taking all the hulls off of the wheat, and it flew into big bins, and the straw part of the wheat would go for bedding for the animals in the wintertime. I can remember when we didn't have electricity, but I was just a kid when we got electricity. We used to have, our church used to have what they call a festival to make money for the church. They make homemade ice cream, and then they'd have hamburgers and hot dogs and different things that the women made, homemade candy and things. And they had it at our schoolhouse. We went to a one-room schoolhouse. But one time this old guy came in there. I know his name, but I'm not going to tell, but he was drinking, and he wanted a dish of ice cream. And he started eating his ice cream, and there he was, half looped, and he picked up that's the damnedest longest ice cream I ever saw. We never forgot that. That's the longest damn ice cream I ever saw. And that was one of the things that was really funny to him, that we never forgot. And we had another neighbor that would go up the road with a horse. And he had maybe a couple of horses and a wagon. And when you'd see him going up the road, you know darn well he'd come back, he was going to be drunk. So when he came back, sure enough, there he was sitting on the wagon, weaving back and forth. The horses knew where to go. So they took him home. And there must have been a lot of characters in our neighborhood. And everybody had a nickname. One guy was named Cowboy. One guy was named Jim Dog. One guy was named High Pockets, because he was a tall guy and his pockets were high. And my dad's nickname was Dutch. And what are some of them? There was Hopper Maxwell. What are some of the funny nicknames that people had? Hoodle. And my brothers had nicknames. Hoot. My brother Harold was Hoot. And I had a brother Merle. He was Mud, and I had a nickname too, but I'm not crazy about it, so I'm not going to even repeat it. I'd rather be called by my right name, and that's Myra. I was named after a cousin of my mother's who came to the house to help take care of the other kids when Mom had me, and her name was Myra. And she was a real nice lady. She lived to be about 100 years old and died. She died since I live here. And she died a couple of years ago. She was 100 years old when she died. And most of the people that lived in our area worked at the American Viscos. They made rayon, and a lot of them worked at the steel mill, Standard Steel Mill out at Burnham. My dad worked at the Standard. My oldest brother worked at the Standard. One of his boys worked too. Would you believe it? The Japanese own the Standard Steel now, but it's still going. The Viscos closed down. I worked there for a while before I was married. And my job was tying. There was big spools of yarn, and you tied to them tubes, and they went around, wrapped around another big spool. I don't know what they used that for. And look outside, it just looks like it's snowing.
Here, I'll show them. It was like stuff falling off of the trees out there. I don't know if they can see that or not.
Those trees are ornamental pear trees, and the blossoms are falling off, and it just looks like it's snowing.
I don't know if that shows up on camera or not.
Probably not. And because of my curtains, they don't even smell. Those blossoms smell funny. They have a funny smell. And I think a lot of us have allergies to the trees and things around here. Makes you sneeze, makes you cough. They are pretty though. They're beautiful. So one time, my sister Leona and I decided we were going to take up painting. So it was right after my husband passed away, and she came up and stayed with me for a year and did some painting. I painted that picture there in the wall.
Okay. You're really giving me a workout with this one.
That painting is a picture of the way my house looked when we bought it. It's different now.
Yeah, anybody that's seen my videos knows that that's the house where I live now.
And it's green. It's covered with aluminum siding. No,
Yes, your green explosion that you bestowed upon me.
It's covered with vinyl siding. It's green. The porch is built in. It's a room now, and that house. That's the house that was built during the First World War. And there was a powder plant up there at Newton over on the other side of the hill near Kistler. There was a powder plant, and I guess they made gunpowder for the war. This area around here at one time was home to a lot of Indians. That's why the river's called Juniata River. A lot of things is named after Indians. Juniata River, Susquehanna River, Allegheny Mountains. Okay. The mountain right up, the biggest mountain that goes, is probably the longest mountain there is that has no gap in it or no break. That's Jack's Mountain, named after Jack Armstrong, or Captain Jack. I guess his last name was Armstrong. He lived up along the river up above Mount Union, Captain Jack. And for a long time, our school at Mount Union was named Captain Jack. But he was a friend of the Indians. But one time when he was away trapping or hunting or whatever it is men did in those days, the Indians killed his family. So from then on, he became an Indian fighter. And the road where you go up from between Mount Union and Huntington, it's called Jack's Narrows, and the river runs through it, the Juniata River. And right across the river from McVeigh is Mattawanna, and that was named after an old Indian chief. Oh, I think we call it Mattawanna, but I think it was more like Mathawanna or something like that. But there's an island between McVeigh and Mattawanna, and people have found a lot of Indian arrowheads on that island, especially in the spring when the farmer plows up the fields to plant them. They find arrowheads, and probably not so much anymore because they've been hunted pretty well. But this area has a history with Indians. I think they were the Delaware, and I don't know what else, the Delaware Indians. And must have been a beautiful country here when the Indians had it before the white man got a hold of it and covered everything with asphalt and plowed everything up, ruined nature. My idea of beauty is just let nature do whatever as nature does. If it grows trees, fine. If it grows berries, fine. It's an interesting history. I read a book on the whole thing once, so I can't remember too much about it. So I think I'll have to think of some more things for the next time. I'll think of some more things that might be of interest to the viewers.
That all you got?
That's all I got for now. I'm
There.
tired. My eyes are getting sleepy.
Well, of course, you're going to remind everybody to like and subscribe and leave a comment if they like everything they see, right?
Right.
All right, I think we're done here.